Thanks for tuning in to the JLW podcast. If I said it before, I'll say it again. We need to pull together. Let's discuss Martin Luther King Jr. He was born January the 15th, 1929. He was born to the late Martin Luther King Sr. and Miss Alberta Williams King. Let's talk on how he made an impact on the United States of America. Let's watch a clip of Martin preaching/teaching us about coming together, whites and blacks and every other race. Let's take a look.
Tired of marching for something that should have been mine at birth. I don't mind saying to you tonight, that I'm tired of the tension surrounding our days. I don't mind saying to you tonight that I'm tired of living every day under the threat of death. I have no martyr complex. I want to live as long as anybody in this building tonight, and sometimes I begin to doubt whether I'm going to make it through. I must confess I'm tired. Years ago, I was in New York City. It was a dark Saturday afternoon. The minute black woman came.
King speaks about racism and how he's tired of marching for something that should have been ours or his at birth. And which he's talking about is freedom. Is one, and we know that racism started in the late 1900 centuries. King let us know that we was built on a nation, that all men was created equally. But in so many ways, a black man is judged and looked down because of the color or his or her skin. And that's happening right now here in the United States, all over the country. In every state that I have researched, we see that racism is still among us. And King was trying his best to eliminate it so we could all come together and eat at one table, not others eating at this table, or that one got to eat at the back table, or that sister got to use that restroom, or that brother has to use that one. He wanted us all to come together as one body. So we are looking at the history of Martin Luther King Jr. Father was Martin Luther King Sr. And his mother and father raised him in the way that nobody was different. Everybody was the same, but in reality, everybody wasn't the same, because there was white folks that had Negroes as slaves. And some of the videos I used to watch Roots and all the other ones, that men and women was raped off of white men because of the skin color. And I looked at it and come to the conclusion of that they did it because they could get away with it. He talks about how rich the United States is, and all the millions and billions and trillions of dollars that the United States has, and how millions of people are poverty stricken, without homes, or barely managing their bills. And that is still true to this day, 2026. It is an ongoing situation in the United States. Let's listen to Martin Luther King Jr. I Had a Dream speech. Take a look.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. I have a dream that one day, down In Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream. My poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream today. Will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. When all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants.
He tells us that his dream is that blacks and whites would one day drink out of the same water faucet. And black girls and black boys and white girls would one day go to the same school and be taught the same studies, without there being a problem with blacks being in the same room as whites. That was his dream. And that dream is now. And when we are living in his dream, for blacks and for the United States of America, we are living in Martin Luther King Jr. dream. He marched with Jesse Jackson, all the other black men that stood beside him to get things accomplished in the United States for blacks. It was hard for blacks to vote. It was hard for blacks to be in the same courthouse as white folks. And Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and all the other great warriors, their legacy will yet live on because they stood for right. They wasn't just standing for only blacks. They were standing for the United States of America. And in this time and in this period and in this present moment, we should take a look back at every time Martin Luther King had a dream, because his dream became reality to the United States of America. Not only in the 2000, but in 2026, we are still living and still riding and floating and building on I Had a Dream. Let's take a look at Dr. Umar speaks on blacks and black history. Take a look.
We suffer from a plantation mentality. I want to take it back to slavery. On the plantation, we all working. Cotton, rum, indigo, whatever the slave master got us doing. We out there working, sunrise to sunset, dying, breaking our backs. Once a year, the slave master would free one of us. Only one. And do you know how you got in a position for your slave master to recognize you and potentially offer you a meritorious manumission? By telling on me. In other words, you had to expose the brother who's trying to run away. You had to expose the brother sneaking off to see his wife late at night on another plantation. But they only allow 1 or 2 their freedom every year. But it's 1,000 on the plantation. So when you go through this after 20 generations or 400 years, you begin to believe that only 1 or 2 blacks can make it at a time. I want you to see why the jealousy is so intense. So when they see Aristotle doing this thing, coming from this conditioned plantation mentality, do you know what a lot of brothers think when they see you? They say, okay, I'm jealous of him. I got to replace him. Why you got to replace him? Not physical replacement, but in terms of success, I got to outdo him. Why? Why can't you join him? Why can't you work with him? Why can't you collaborate with him? Because we were trained on the plantation that only 1 or 2 can make it at a time. So when we see another black man making it, when I see Aristotle doing this thing, do you know what comes into my mind? I got to replace him or I got to erase him. because there's no room for me. Who said there's no room for you? There's enough room for all of us. But because we've been hypnotized by the slave master, we believe that whenever one black person is making it, I don't care if it's with a new restaurant, I don't care if it's in the rap game, I don't care if it's sports and athletics, whenever we see one of us doing well, the assumption is nobody else can. It breeds the competition, it breeds the animosity, and it breeds the sabotage. There's enough room for all of us. We have to transform our consciousness from one of scarcity to one of abundance. We got to convince every black boy and girl in Atlanta and throughout the state of Georgia, you don't have to hate on another brother or sister. You don't have to compete with another brother or sister. There's enough for all of us. For example, earlier when you said the Obamacare and things like that, there are black folks who benefited from that envy. But in order to help
Dr. Umar let us know that blacks are stuck because we want to be stuck. That's the reason. It's not because blacks can't move out of their situation or can't move forward in life. Blacks wants to be stuck. And he said it goes on to say that the way that we think is in the same category as slavery time. He said we suffer from a plantational mentality. A plantational mentality is a mental health and social struggling long after freedom. He said it goes all the way back to slavery time, where blacks were still sealed in a box. They couldn't leave unless they asked master or they asked madam, could they leave the plantation to go buy grocery, to go do this for them or do that for them, or clean the stables for them. He said we're still living in that box long after slavery. He goes on to say we as black people are so far behind because we are like crabs in a box. When one finally make it to the top, the other one gets jealous and pulled him back down instead of cheering him or her on to one day free us all. All of these great people worked hard and long so that we could be equal to one another. Even though we have people that is in place in Congress, in government, they are still living by those slavery rules. That black man can't have anything unless a white man give it to him. A black woman can't work nowhere unless a white woman approves it. Martin Luther King said that is a lie and the truth is not in it. Because I see it as I'm living in this humanity, living in this society. I see it for myself. That we can be all we can be if we choose to be. But we can live like slaves for the rest of our lives if we choose to as well. Martin Luther King died a saddened death. I read that he didn't die with the bullet planted to his chest. He died in the hospital. Someone smothered him to death. I do believe that. I'm going to die believing it. Because if Martin Luther King was here today, the things that he would say, the speeches he would give, the teaching and the preaching he would send out to the American people, a lot of folks would not be happy. We do have some blacks that act like the other blacks are nothing. Like they're just a gum under their shoe. But Martin Luther King believed that everybody is equal. Everybody is somebody. And nobody is nobody in his eyes. And that reality, again, has come to 2026, and will live on forever and ever. As we come to a closing, we know Monday, January the 19th, 2026 is Martin Luther King Jr. birthday. We have been celebrating his life and legacy since the 2000s, even though some states have been celebrating even longer. Let's not forget about Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Eric Gardner, Trayvon Martin, Ahmaud Arbery, Michael Brown, and more that was taken from us doing nothing but being black. It's sad that we live in a state or town that we get criticized, we get looked down on, we get humiliated, we get denied jobs, even though we have the education for it. It's sad that we go to school for 5 or 6 years. That same white person goes to school for 5 or 6 years. We apply for the same job. The black person was the more educated person in the room, the most intelligent person in the room. But because of their skin color, the white person gets the job. We are living in a United States that believe that slavery is yet still in America. That no blacks have the right to be in Senate, as a councilman, as a governor, as a mayor. But I sit to tell you that is a lie. Mayor Brown in Bay Minette, I can't think of her name, but the mayor that won Pritchard in Mobile, my bishop, my overseer that won mayor in Frisco City, Alabama. We stand to tell you that that is a lie. Not only do white people get to sit in high places, but blacks gets to sit in high places as well. We have a lot of things to work on. We have a lot of things to push forward in. The first black president was Barack Obama. Very educated, very smart. And I thank God that he won while I was yet in school. To see him stand there was an honor and a privilege. I didn't know then, but I do know now, that if Barack Obama can win the United States presidential, then every black person in the United States have the right to move forward in whatever they choose to. Be like Martin Luther King. I had a dream. And not only dream it, but make your dreams come true and make it be reality. Jasmine Crockett is running for Senate, and we should stand by her without a shadow of a doubt that she wins, that she gets to sit in that high place with her high voice, with her high intelligence, with her high degrees, and most of all, with her high common sense. We can do all things through Christ that strengthens us. Let's keep that in mind. Atmore, Alabama is celebrating Martin Luther King Day on Monday, as every other state as well. And we want to give a big shout out to Miss Sandra Gray here in Atmore, Alabama, and many others for making it happen every year. Again, let's be kind to one another and treat people like you want to be treated. And if you ain't got nothing nice to say, as my mother would say, please do not say nothing at all. And King would say, as I close, he would tell us, if he was here today, that we are all equal in God's eyes. We are all one in the eyesight of Jesus Christ. I pray that you enjoyed this podcast. If you don't mind, please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. May God continue to bless you. May God continue to keep you, is my prayer. I love you. I love you. I love you. And there's nothing you can do about it. Be blessed and may God bless you.